Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's is a fun one. We're going to talk about some baits that nobody will tell you they are using, but in fact, they might be using or at least have in their tackle box because they know how well they work. These are some baits that are just kind of a little bit off the wall, but the reality is all of us know how good they are and you should not be sleeping on them. So I'm going to break those down. I also want to remind you that I do have a bunch of lake breakdowns that I've done with fishthemoment.com. I take lakes, I break them down based on season, provide a pile of different waypoints and places for you to go fish so that you can break down the lakes using the information that I've provided you. I'll put the link for that in the video description if you want to check those out. Also, it's great if you're looking to purchase tackle if you would use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link. Great way to show your support for the channel. Any little bit I make from that comes right back into making content for you guys out there. So if you want to support the channel, great way to do it. All right, so let's talk about some of these baits here that, man, they are absolute fish catchers, but you very, very rarely hear anybody talk about it, even though I know a lot of people are talking about it because I'm consistently finding these baits hanging in trees, washed up on the shore. So there's a ton of people that are still using them, but nobody will ever acknowledge that they actually are using them. And I think some of them are because they've got this feeling that they're like, beginner type baits and people just don't want to say they're using it. So as an example, let's talk about this guy. This is a pre-rigged worm. Most of us have thrown these at some point over the course of our lives. In my opinion, these are some of the best fish catching baits we have out there, especially for beginning anglers. They catch all different species of bass. You catch actually a lot of panfish on it as well because they come with a rear hook. And I've got boxes of these. I've won a lot of tournaments on them. This straight up old school purple's good. Brown with an orange tail's really good. The bubblegum colored ones. I love a pre-rigged worm. They are great, great baits to use. Most people would never acknowledge that, but they are very good.
Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. This has had an amazing new update. As you guys know, I love the water clarity feature. As you can see right here, we're looking at Grand Lake, which just had a whole pile of rain come into it. It went from being really clear to having a lot of dirty water coming in the bottom end of it. Just an amazing feature to be able to determine where the clear water is versus the muddy water. So Deep Dive has just also introduced Stream Flow. Now this is a really cool feature that shows all of the water input coming into certain reservoirs and the amount of water coming in. So they measure it in cubic feet per second. You can see in this case, this is just a small creek, but then you can see the projected as well as the previous flows. If we move up the lake here, get into one of the larger rivers coming in, you can see here that we've got 490 cubic feet per second. And then it shows you that there's not much of a change expected. Now, if there's some rainfall coming, I'm sure those projections will change. If we scoot on over here to take a look at Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, much larger river systems, the Tennessee River, you can see what the projected outflow is going to be there, 28,000 cubic feet per second. Go check the Cumberland River here. We got 9.4 thousand cubic feet per second. Just an amazing feature that allows you to see all of the different water flows coming into the different parts of the lake. You can see which ones might be the most affected, which ones won't be affected, see what the projected outflow schedules are. A major feature to help you catch more fish. And that's on top of some of the other new features like the wind effects. Now, the wind effects is really cool because we've had wind effects as part of the app in the past, but all it did is show where the wind was hitting the shoreline the most, as you can see from the dots, the orange and bright red dots, which indicate where the wind is really striking. But now the wind feature also indicates what the wave action is like on the lake itself. So some of the features you're going to get from this is determining where to get from place to place safely by avoiding the heavy, rough water conditions. You'll be able to determine where you may have some of the strongest current flow and some of the places where you can fish to stay protected. Now, along with that, you still have some of my favorite features like the patterns that you've got on the lake that indicate the best baits and lures to fish with. You've also got the water inflow app, which shows you where a bunch of the rain input comes in. That can be an amazing pattern to fish. throughout the year. Just a great feature to have. So many positive features anytime you're fishing or using the Deep Dive app. Just points you in the right direction to catch more fish. Whether you're a tournament angler or a local fun fisherman that's just out to catch a few fish, the Deep Dive app will help you catch more fish next time you're out on the water.
Another one that I have a lot of success on that you don't hear a lot of people talk about is the Strike King Rocket Shed. So this is a tiny, tiny little spinnerbait that's meant to be burned under the surface. There are times and days where that bait will outproduce almost anything else. If you got schooling fish, if you've got flats with smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass on them, throw that thing out there, burn it so it's coming right back under the surface, and you will have some of the most explosive bites you've had in a long time. Hold on to the rod because when they do hit it, they can rip it out of your hands. How about some pork frogs? I'm not going to open this one because this is a brand new container still. But your pork frogs are made to be used as trailers on things like your flipping jigs, spinner baits. Try them on a chatterbait. They work absolutely phenomenal for that. I love throwing pork. They hold up great. The only time I don't, or the only thing I don't like about them is if you're not consistently using it throughout the day, it can dry out on a hot deck. But there are really good times when a pork frog is a great, great thing. And we've completely moved away from pork, but we all know how good it can be. I mean, this was kind of the whole start to trailers, not just, you know, as a jig, but really for a lot of different baits. So do not sleep on your pork frogs. That's another one that I absolutely love that I think all of us are familiar with and nobody will ever actually talk about. And there's a lot of old school, hardcore bass flipping fools that still love pork. And I'm one of them, guys. So that's a great one. How about your MEPS inline spinners? This is the Bronze Slammer. This is a little bit more of a high-end one. Man, an absolute killer bait. Your inline spinners generate bites from all different game fish. And there are some tournament anglers that are doing extremely well on this exact bait and color fishing some of your northern smallmouth lakes. I can tell you in places like Champlain, they are smashing them on a bronze slammer. So that's another one. We all know how good inline spinners can be. We've thrown them forever. Whether they're this big for panfish or this big for muskie, your inline spinners are fish catching tools. So that's another one that I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on, or they're not actually saying that they're using it. Man, I've done videos with that bronze slammer and just absolutely caught them. And then another one, and this, we all have at least one of these in our tackle box. Your old school Rapala floating minnows. I get the hooks caught in both the straight version, like that guy, as well as the jointed version, like that guy. These are just, they are fish catching fools. And I know tons and tons of people are using them. And the funny thing is, I feel like the majority anglers that are using them are more at the beginner level. But these baits are great, great tournament tools, especially when the fishing is tough. They just generate a lot of bites. And I'm almost willing to bet that every one of us out there has either the jointed one or the non-jointed one in some form or fashion of size, because they come from about that big up to like that big. Just another great bait that a lot of people will not acknowledge that they're catching them on because they're either embarrassed to say it or because they want to keep it a secret because they know how good it is. So let me know in the comment section, what are some of those baits that you think others are using, but they're not actually telling people that they're using because they're either embarrassed to talk about it or because they want to keep it secret? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.